Hello everyone, these are going to be messages for the next upcoming week, which I call the weekly pulse. I've seen the comments that you guys have given me on the last one. I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. So I'm going to see how I can expand these a little bit, try how I fit it into my schedule, but I want to give you more information. So I feel this one is going to be a little bit longer and we'll just kind of go from there. One thing that I do wanted to say, some of you have suggested that I do weekly messages for each sign. And I thought about that and I thought, not a bad idea, but then I got this sense that it actually kind of defeats the purpose of what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And that is, my aim is to help you move out of restrictions. If I give a message and say this is for Taurus, then I am restricting you to look at that message only for a Taurus. And the way my messages come across is they're meant to relate to anyone who is listening that can resonate with it at the time. So to me, it's much less relevant what sign is for, but it's much more relevant to how does it resonate with you. So I'm going to leave this general. We'll see how it goes later, but I'm going to leave this general. But I wanted to say that because I got that very, very strong impression to make sure I say that. Whenever we put ourselves in a box, we are in a box. So if we look at a certain sign and we go, this is a sign that's this, and therefore that must be for me. That's a restriction. And my aim is to help you be less restrictive of yourself. So what do we have for next week? Let me just tune in. Let me see if I can feel the energy. I feel like I'm on an open field and I'm standing there and I'm not sure which direction I should go. So you may feel a little bit over the next little while like it's not a stuck feeling at all. It's not that at all. I don't feel stuck at all. It feels more, I'm not sure where I'm going, but the underlying feeling is I feel like I'm not quite ready to decide yet. So it feels like we are being prepared for something in the very near future that will potentially include some sort of a decision. And I do have the Two of Wands. It came up in reverse. And for me, when I feel it, it just tells me there is a change, but it's not time yet. And yes, it will be career for some of you. For others, it will be love. It's a different path, a different choice. But it's not now. It feels a little bit later. So that feeling isn't necessarily bad at all. As a matter of fact, the feeling is good because I'm not rushing into anything. I'm not really holding myself back. I'm just kind of sort of in between, which is a very interesting feeling. I wish I could evoke it better, but I hope you can, some of you at least can understand it. What I did feel when I was shuffling some cards is I actually saw you sitting there, or us sitting there, and you had this backpack on your back and you took out this sack almost filled with goodies, and you opened this up and you're looking at this, and I wrote the word treasure. And treasure and recognition of value. I feel for most of us, it is time to recognize our own value. And oftentimes we do not think this way. We're not on a lookout for our own value. We're usually on a lookout in value somewhere else or within someone else. And that isn't always a great thing, because if we do not recognize our own value, we'll have a tendency to need to be valued by somebody else. And although there is absolutely nothing wrong with being valued, it's a beautiful thing and it's important. But when we depend on others to value us more than we value ourselves, then we're never really, first of all, we never really are in our bodies. We're always out there searching for something that we can attain. And we feel ungrounded. Also, relying on someone to fundamentally make you happy, for example, that doesn't work. We all know that, right? Because happiness has to come from within first, and then whoever comes in either matches it or doesn't match it. And if it doesn't match, you have a choice. Do I stick with it or don't I? And if your value of self is low, you'll have a tendency to attract things you don't want and keep attracting things you don't want, because your value system says, I can't have better. Well, the fact of the matter is, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just have to start believing it. And you can't just switch off or on and says believe or not believe. Belief is something that is, I believe, cultivated. You believe based on what you experience. In other words, an experience gave you a certain belief. So in order to have a different belief, we have to have a different experience. Positive outlook, obviously very important. Positive outlook, very straightforward or self-explanatory. It's important to be positive. Yes, we all know that, but there's more to it. What I want to say here is it's imperative that you watch your words, how you communicate with yourself and the world. If your dialogue is something along the lines, I can't, I shouldn't, it's not for me, I don't think, when it's skewed towards the negative, then that is not the best way to help you accomplish what you want. That doesn't mean, however, that you ignore what's not working and only focus on positive because you don't want to see what's not working. It doesn't mean that. It simply means you don't focus on what's not working, and rather focus on what could be working and make that happen. When you speak to yourself, you validate yourself. So when you say, I can't do this because, you're validating the idea that you cannot. And generally when you cannot, it's because you're missing something. You feel you're missing something. So you are blocking yourself. You are restricting yourself. You are limiting yourself. Power of words is incredible. I had the benefit of actually seeing it a couple of years ago with my own eyes, and it happened for about a month. And I needed to experience it so that I could comprehend it on a different level. And I actually saw the energy around words, and it was absolutely freaking fascinating. Absolutely fascinating how I saw people speak the words and how it was changing their energy, their aura. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. Now we know power, words are power. We all know, most of us know that. We know it, but we don't know it. We think it, we don't believe it, we don't own it. All you have to do to believe it is look at how you talk to yourself and how you feel. And if you don't want to feel the way you want to feel, you need to have a different dialogue. One that is much more positive. So yes, this message is about having a positive outlook in general, but this is more specifically about how you communicate with you and the world. I am feeling throat here. Let me just tune in. It's hard for me to swallow. Perhaps it's very difficult for you to be kind to yourself or to be positive about you. Perhaps you're not used to feeling good. Can happen. I've seen it before. But if you're not used to feeling good, it's because you've gotten used to feeling not good. So we have to change that. How do you feel good? You do something different. You shift your thinking, you shift your perception, you shift how you view things. You shift how you communicate. How? Consciously. Because unless you become conscious of something, you cannot change it. It's impossible. It's nearly impossible. So positive outlook, hugely important. The number 29 I'm looking at, 2 is decisions and choices. So there's an indication again here that there's a choice or choices coming up in a very near future. And the choice could be around adding something to your work, adding something to your someone to your family. There's an addition. Is it an addition or is it a replacement? For some of you, it's a replacement. For some of you, it's an addition. And that could be anything. You could, for all I know, you might be planning a baby. And if that's the case, and you are riddled with insecurities, that baby will inherit those insecurities from you. There is no question about it. So that's for selective of you. That's very selective few of you. So if you are wanting to get pregnant, congratulations, because it sounds like some of you may actually be able to experience that. Congratulations. The 9 is all about endings and letting go. Letting go of not so positive outlook. Letting go of not so positive dialogue. Letting go of some insecurities. No, it's not easy. It's hard. And it's hard because in order to make that change, you need to swim against your own grain, against your own current. And that's hard. That's hard. It takes effort. It takes effort, yes, and stamina, yes, yes, yes. And it makes you tired, yes. Absolutely, yes. But you still have to do it. Well, you don't have to, but chances are you'd want to, because you want to come out on the other end, because the other end brings a new promise of something better, promise of something different, promise of something much more expanded, even if it's your view. And when I say even, it's kind of a silly thing to say, because view of world changes everything. So when you change a view on something, it changes that. It transforms it into something different. Remember, everything is energy. When you talk to yourself nonsense, that's energy. It's you feeding yourself crap energy. You wouldn't feed your kid crap energy or crap sandwich, right? Why do you do it to you? And we all do it. We're all guilty of it. I know I'm guilty of it too. That's why I'm passionate about sharing this with you, because it's my fascination. How to overcome limitations. How to let go of limitations. How to allow yourself to be something more that you already are, but you're blocking yourself. That's my intention. Mental transformation. How appropriate. Woo! How appropriate. Another 9. We're letting go of some SHIT. Restricted thoughts, restricted beliefs, restricted self-dialogue, which in turn creates a brand new foundation. It solidifies a new way of looking at things. And as long as we continue to keep doing this process, it eventually becomes the norm. Because anything that is done over a prolonged period of time on a regular basis becomes automatic. And change takes time. So if you're feeling a bit off, and I know I have been lately, and I have spoken to many clients who have as well, we're going through transformation as a whole. Our humanity is going through transformation, and each person will experience it differently. But you might have been feeling tired, lack of energy, just not clear thinking, just under weather, just kind of blah. It will pass. It will pass. It will stay a little bit longer. Maybe those of you who are astrologers, you can kind of give us an idea of what that's about. Maybe it's the retrograde. I don't know about that stuff that much, but it will last for a little while longer. But then it thins out. Time for rest. And this is resting your thoughts. Again, indication that your thoughts are shifting and changing. I am working on that too. I'm always working on that. And it's been pretty interesting, because I'm really focusing on shifting how I think. And oh my God, all those things from the past are coming up, and all these stupid triggers, like, dear Lord, but it's all coming up to be cleared. It's coming up from the shadow to the surface. And the moment you shine light on something, it's no longer a shadow. So it's about, when it becomes visible, it means often that it's clearing itself out. Your job is not to suppress it, not to fix it, not to deal with it. It's to simply allow it to be and do your best to be the observer. Of course, if you have something to deal with, you have to deal with, but that's not what I mean. I'm talking about if you're feeling tired or old memories are coming back. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do something about it. It just means allow it to go through you, because as you let it go through you, it releases. It releases from your body and your mind and your soul. Okay? I'm looking something here. I can't help but look at this sword. Just the way it's shown to me right now, it looks like it's going through this person's abdomen. For some of you, it's really interesting. How do I say this, please? If you have been stabbed in the back, figuratively speaking, I hope, or in your stomach, which means you got a kick, and you are still holding on to the pain, it's time to resolve it. So maybe some of the things that you've been feeling are connected to that. Anything that's unresolved festers, and whenever something festers, it becomes a trigger. Therefore, we're much less likely to be responsive to life. We're much more likely to be reactive because we're being triggered. And therefore, we often make choices or decisions out of fear versus a more objective view, a higher understanding. If you've had any issues with holding back, mentally, spiritually, maybe some financially, because you feel you're not enough or something of that sort, this has to do with value, then again, this is something that we are all essentially, eventually are going to let go of completely. Remember the judgment? We're all at the end of a cycle. This card came up quite a few times when I was doing messages for November. There's a lot of endings, a lot of cycle endings, a lot of karmic cycles being resolved. And to me, that's fantastic. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Follow your heart, follow your intuition. Your mind isn't always helpful, though it is helpful, but not always helpful. So it's important to kind of mitigate those two. Have that even flow, mind and intuition. The raccoon came up, and that's actually quite interesting because as I'm speaking to it now, I just remembered that during one of my plant ceremonies, I was told that raccoon is my animal totem. And I went, raccoon? That's kind of interesting. So I had to go actually look it up, which is kind of interesting. So maybe this is a message for some of you. For others of you, this to me denotes a little bit of hiding, a little bit of retreating, a little bit of just kind of holding yourself back a little bit. But again, this feels more like a rest period right now. It's not so much jumping to do something. It's more of a rest period, more of a waiting period, and just being focused on being positive. What else? Some of you may not want to be seen yet, in whatever capacity. If that's the case, it is okay, but at least understand the reason why. Why do you not want to be seen? Usually to arrive at that, I don't want to be seen, takes a little bit of contemplation. When I do it with clients, I do certain things to help them arrive there. But it does require one to really know themselves well. So if you are hiding, it's okay. Don't feel bad about it. You're hiding for a reason, but understand the reason. Because the moment you understand the reason, you will have valuable information in terms of what you're dealing with. And again, in order to change something, in order to fix something, you have to know what it is that you're dealing with. Otherwise, you're not connected. You're trying to fix the symptom, but not the actual problem. So by hiding, you're trying to fix the symptom, or you're trying to prevent the symptom, right? So it's important to tune into that. Once you know what you're hiding from, go, okay, I accept that. I accept this is where I am right now. I will accept that. Because the moment you accept something, you're no longer fighting it. And when you're not fighting it, you're not resisting, which means that energy can move. It's not stuck anymore. So it is okay if you're hiding. It's absolutely okay. I know I'm hiding too. I mean, I know it. I'm holding myself back. It's just the human condition. And I'm working towards really letting go of that more and more and more. It's a daily process, and it's focused attention. Constantly being aware of what I feel and why I feel it and what's behind it. Because the moment I see it, it's in my awareness. And the moment it's in my awareness, it's no longer a mystery to me, which means it can be solved easily, or much more easily. Okay? So it's okay to hide for a little bit. It's okay. Besides, it's not the time to make a move just yet. Not quite. But just know that you can't hide forever. I want to say this to you. That book that I was talking to you about some time ago, why are you not writing it? So, if you heard me talk to you some time ago about a book and you're still not doing it, maybe that's why because you're hiding. If that's the case, what are you hiding from? I love this. Absolutely love this energy. Okay, guys, I hope you like this. I would love to hear your comments, to see your comments. I welcome your comments. I read every single one. I try to heart every single one. Sometimes I miss it just by accident, but if I didn't give you a heart, but there's 100 other hearts, it's not because I somehow rejected you. No, even if you give me a bad comment, which I rarely get those, I will give you a heart, because that means you're putting your energy you're putting your energy to me. So I must, there must be a value in it for you. Otherwise you wouldn't bother, right? Even if it was just a trigger, that's of value to you if you can understand it. So with that said, I wish you best of luck, and I will see you next week. Take care.